This episode of eHealth Radio is brought to you by UNatural, empowering your health. No matter the season or reason, Breathe by UNatural makes it easier to do just that. Our super simple, no-nonsense formula helps improve the function and health of your lungs naturally. A time-tested supplement formulated specifically for sinus, nasal, and lung support. Breathe in. Enter eHealth 15 at checkout for 15% off at unatural.com. Again, that's eHealth 15 for 15% off at eunatural.com.
This is the eHealth Radio Network, your source for health advice on demand. And now your host, Eric Michaels.
Thanks for joining us once again here on the eHealth Radio Network. This is your host, Eric Michaels. eHealth Radio gives you the most current health information, news, and advice featuring some of the leading innovators in healthcare and wellness who are changing healthcare as we know it. For more eHealth Radio reports, we invite you to visit our main radio channel site at eHealthRadioNetwork.com. Today we're speaking with Mr. Terry Moore, the founder and CEO of HomeoLux, a health and technology company that designs wellness products based on cutting-edge science. And Mr. Moore, thanks for joining us here today on eHealth Radio.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you for your interest.
You're certainly more than welcome, and looking forward to hearing more from you today on this. So tell us, for starters, tell us about the impact of Alzheimer's disease and why you established HomeoLux to begin with.
Oh, I'm so glad you asked, Eric. I don't think people generally know how much of a health crisis Alzheimer's disease is. But it is a worldwide epidemic. In this country, almost 6 million people have the diagnosis. There is a new diagnosis every 66 seconds. We're currently spending more than $300 billion on Alzheimer's and its effect. And one of the most poignant statistics I know is that the statistics say that 1 out of every 9 senior citizens in this country will eventually be diagnosed as Alzheimer's patients. This is a worldwide health crisis.
I certainly agree with you there, and this actually hit close to home, as my grandmother years ago had Alzheimer's disease and passed away because of it, so I'm totally with you in these regards. Now, what is 40 hertz light therapy, and how does it boost brain function?
Well, we all have this natural rhythm to our brains called gamma, and it's 40 hertz or 40 pulses a second. And for people who have cognitive decline, that rhythm seems to be deviated. We know that Alzheimer's destroys the neural connections in the brain that are connected to mostly in memory, where it's most obvious. And by restoring the natural frequency of the brain at 40 hertz, the brain is stimulated to produce its own 40 hertz vibrations stimulation, and that is consistent with a decrease in the amount of the stuff called amyloid plaque in the brain, which is really one of the things that's most highly implicated in Alzheimer's disease. Plaque is something that is a natural byproduct of metabolism, but builds up sometimes, and it has been demonstrated that this buildup may occur as much as 15 or 20 years before anyone is diagnosed with Alzheimer's. Now the presence of 40 hertz light stimulates the brain to clean itself up. And much as we all brush our teeth to keep the plaque in our mouths down so that we will have healthy mouths, by stimulating the brain at 40 hertz, we can help the brain clean itself out and stay healthy. And that's the latest research, and that's why it's so important to me.
Really some great information there, and thanks for sharing that, and that is most helpful and exciting as well. Who benefits most from 40 hertz light therapy?
Well, there's no way of detecting who is going to have this disease. There are some genetics tests that are not conclusive, and as recently as last week, there was some research that indicated there was a blood test that might indicate who might be susceptible to Alzheimer's. But the research is really around how much plaque there is in the brain, and how much we can decrease that is an aid to health. I think of 40 hertz light, and my own experience with 40 hertz light has been that it's like a vitamin. And much as I said before, as we brush our teeth to keep the plaque at bay, why not stimulate the brain to do the same thing? My own experience with this goes back about 4 years when my wife, who is really one of the most brilliant people I've ever met, was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. And my response to that was to throw myself into the research and see what was available. Actually, the picture looked remarkably bleak. There is no treatment. There's no cure for Alzheimer's disease, and I don't think there are any standard treatments. There are a lot of collateral therapies about nutrition and lifestyle, but there's no direct yet treatment. But I found this research that indicated that exposure to 40 hertz light decreases the amount of plaque in the brains of the subjects. And I thought that was remarkably hopeful. And because it wasn't invasive, and it wasn't harmful, and it wasn't expensive, I actually hired an engineer to build a prototype of this device so that I could use it at home. And after about 2 weeks, the doctors were asking me where they could get one. So that's why I thought, here is something that just might be good for everyone. And that's why I started this company.
Well, I can certainly see where the inspiration and motivation came from to start the company. And on another note, I had no idea that there was plaque buildup in the brain. So this really all makes sense and ties all together very well here per the conversation. Now, the name says it all. Breathe. UNatural's potent lung support supplement made by medical and herbal professionals makes it easier to do just that. Formulated for sinus, nasal, and immune health. Save 15% with eHealth 15 at unatural.com. Try it risk-free for 90 days with code eHealth 15. Again, at eunatural.com. Today, we're with Mr. Terry Moore, the founder and CEO of HomeoLux, a health and technology company that designs wellness products based on cutting-edge science. He's joined us here today on eHealth Radio's Health News Channel, a part of the eHealth Radio Network. Now, Mr. Moore, what does the future for cognitive health look like as you see it?
Well, as I said, there are no cures for Alzheimer's at the moment. And I think the thing that is most helpful and maybe most successful is to try to prevent the disease. And there seem to be many things that one can do to try to prevent or hold cognitive decline at bay. And they're often very logical, such as having a healthy diet. We hear about a heart-healthy diet, but a heart-healthy diet and a brain-healthy diet are pretty much the same things. And if we have the right nutrition, if we eat well, that will help our bodies, and a healthy body goes with a healthy brain, that's for sure. Also, we can do things like exercise, good for the body, good for the brain. Another thing we can do is use 40 hertz light, which, as I said before, I believe is very much like a vitamin for the brain. So the future, I think, really is most hopeful in terms of preventing the disease, although we're always looking for a cure. And there's a tremendous amount of research and funding that is looking at the future of a cure for Alzheimer's. But there isn't one on the drawing board yet. So let's try to prevent it. We can all do that.
It certainly all begins with prevention, and that's a really good point right there. Now, what are your wellness routines? I'd be curious for maintaining cognitive health yourself.
Well, there are a number of things I do. One of them is meditation. I meditate every day, and I find that a very healthy thing for lifestyle and for I think, brain health. The wonderful thing about meditation is it's calming, and it allows one to take whatever is going on in the environment, whatever noises or distractions there may be, to bring them in and make them part of that meditation. And I think that's a very healthy, mindful way to stay healthy and help my brain. I also use 40 hertz light. I have our product, the Beacon 40, on my desk and pretty much on all the time. It's a way of stimulating the brain to produce its own 40 hertz frequencies. And that, I think, is, as I said before, very much like a vitamin for the brain. And I use it all the time. I also try to get up earlier. I try to not waste as much time at the end of the day when I usually would want just to be distracted. I go to bed and get up early. And when I get up early, I try to keep all of the artificial lights off so I can appreciate the beginning of the day. And I enjoy that moment very much. All these things are personal, but I think they all accrue to better brain health, particularly the meditation and the 40 hertz light.
Well, Mr. Moore, can't thank you enough for taking a moment to be with us here today and introduce HomeoLux and this fantastic technology to combat against cognitive health and Alzheimer's disease as well. As we conclude today, any closing thoughts or takeaway, tip, anything else we should be aware of, or anything else you'd like to share along the lines of our conversation today?
Yes, I'd like to say that cognitive health is an issue that is important to all of us, whether we have Alzheimer's in the family or not, and that we can all do what we can to prevent the disease, since there's no cure in sight. And prevention is a matter of staying healthy, living a healthy lifestyle, and using 40 hertz light.
And of course, the big question is, where can folks get more information on HomeoLux online, and also how could they best be in touch accordingly?
We have a website, HomeoLux.com. You could simply search for Beacon 40, which is the name of our product, or for HomeoLux. We have a lot of information on our website, and we'd be happy to share.
And of course, you can find these links related to this conversation within the show notes of this broadcast as well. Again, Mr. Moore, all the best. Thanks so much for joining us here today on eHealth Radio.
Thank you, Eric. Have a great day.
You're more than welcome, and again, thanks for your time. We've been speaking with Terry Moore, founder and CEO of HomeoLux, a health and technology company that designs wellness products based on cutting-edge science. And for all the details, visit HomeoLux.com. And again, this has been your host, Eric Michaels, and we do thank you for your continued support of the eHealth Radio Network. Join us again soon for another episode that will help further expand your knowledge on those things that are important to your health and wellness. For more eHealth Radio reports, we invite you to visit our main radio channel site at eHealthRadioNetwork.com. And as always, we do thank you for tuning in.
Thanks for tuning in to the eHealth Radio Network. For more information or to subscribe to this podcast, visit eHealthRadioNetwork.com.
This episode of eHealth Radio was brought to you by uNatural, empowering your health. The name says it all. Breathe. uNatural's potent lung support supplement made by medical and herbal professionals makes it easier to do just that. Formulated for sinus, nasal, and immune health, save 15% off with eHealth 15 at uNatural.com. Try it risk-free for 90 days with code eHealth 15 at eUnatural.com.